some audio issues. But go ahead and let me know from a 10 verse 10. How's the audio and the video? 1 out of 10. So once we work out all the kinks, we're going to dive right in. 7? Okay. Let me shut down my Google Maps. Let's see if that helps out a little bit. Either way, welcome in, everybody. DL, good afternoon. Good to see you. CJK, Ralph, the blind pug. Thanks for the feedback. She Warrior, Frank, good to see you. Everyone is having a great Thursday. It's my PTO. Nice. Last summer softball game out of town, so I'm cheering on the granddaughter. Sounds like fun. Thank you, She Warrior. All right, so today we're looking into a cold case here that's local to me. It's a Phoenix cold case. Alisha Hale, or also Alisha Hale Bellotte. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Bellotte, known as Alisha Hale, was a 34-year-old woman who was tragically shot and killed on June 3rd, 2021. So if you're from the Phoenix area, that's the date that you need to kind of think about right there and try to recall. See if you have any recollection of being near Baseline Road and the 10 freeway. Most of us out here in Phoenix might remember it as the area near Fry's Electronics or the Arizona Resort area. I think the Fry's Electronics is out of business now, if I'm not mistaken. But you can't miss the building. It has like this huge like a fake antenna, huge red antenna on top. So keep that date in mind, June 3rd, 2021. So in a desert area near Interstate 10 and Baseline Road in Phoenix, Arizona, beyond the circumstances of her death, limited public information is available about her personal life. As much of the available data focuses on her murder case, however, some details provide a glimpse into who she was. Alisha was described by, I don't know if it's Alisha or Alicia, described by Phoenix police as a victim whose family deeply felt her loss, emphasizing that she and her loved ones deserve justice. At the time of her death, she was found wearing a black and white dress. Here, let me put that up there. So, homicide investigators feel that this is an important clue. See the dress here? Here, I might have a better image. Here, let's go ahead and share the screen here. This one's much clearer. Okay, so family and friends, I think, stated that she typically wouldn't be dressed like this. So that tells us something about what was going on that day. And throughout this, from the chat, what I want from you guys, I want you to continue to chime in. Tell me what you think. The smallest thing could end up being the biggest thing. So I want you guys to try to interpret the information the best that you can. And give me your thoughts. Let's try to make sense of this. And as I unravel the details, we'll start to try to put together a profile possibly of this killer. And I think that's what we'll do towards the end of the stream, is try to kind of put together our amateur profile of who might have done this. Right? We might not be experts or doctors or whatever, but we know what the fuck we're talking about. The proof is in the pudding. So there it is. There's a close-up. So this is a Phoenix, Arizona cold case from 2021. Hey, Don, Spain, what's up? How you doing, guys? Beth, welcome in. All right, let's keep going with the information here. So this is really a look, my notes on trying to figure out who she was as a person. There's not a whole lot there. I did find a little bit this morning on her online obituary. So maybe we'll take a look at that. There's a lot of comments there. Usually the cases we cover don't have that many comments. Maybe the killer left a comment. You never know. The profile that I've put together tells me that she knew her killer. Could have been briefly, maybe not. But for whatever reason, it seems like he needed. I think he wanted to hide something. You know, kind of like a sexual sadist. Their goal is not to commit murder. Their goal is to sexually assault a vulnerable victim. The murder is just a byproduct of that to silence the victim, right? Typically because they're a psychopath. They don't give a shit about these people to begin with, and they're constantly fantasizing about sexual torture. But I digress. Let's see here. Where was I? However, some details provide a glimpse into who she was. Alisha was described by Phoenix police as a victim whose family deeply felt her loss, emphasizing that she and her loved ones deserve justice. At the time of her death, she was found wearing a black and white dress, which her family noted was not her usual style of clothing. So that's why it's important, guys. This dress means something. The first thing that popped to my mind was a date, right? And we'll get into all the specifics after I kind of go provide you guys with this overview here. So I'm going to give you guys some basic details about the case, about who she was, what, you know, all the information I could gather. And then recently, Phoenix police put out a press conference referring to this as a cold case. You know, even though it's only been since 2021, they're telling us, like, look, guys, we need your help. We need your eyes on this. It's a cold case. We're cold. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't a cold case. So they provided us with some CCTV footage from multiple angles. We have a suspect vehicle. We have an approximate height. We got this guy on camera. We got him. He's right there on camera. It's just worse than the bridge guy video in the Delphi murders. Like, I mean, we're talking like a silhouette, a black blob. But one good thing is we know the height of Alisha. I think she was about 5'2". And at one point, there's a clear view of the suspect getting out of his gray Dodge Ram 2000 model between 2000 and 2006. We see him standing next to Alisha, and you kind of get an idea of how tall he is, and they believe he's around 5'9". All right, let me continue on here. At the time of her death, she was found wearing a black and white dress, which her family noted was not her usual style of clothing, suggesting she may have been dressed differently than her typical preference on the day of the incident. This detail hints at a personal style or routine that her family was familiar with, though specifics about her personality, hobbies, or occupation are not detailed in available records. But what I did gather this morning from comments on her online obituary was that she was little, but she could be scary, right? She protected her friends. She could be very intimidating. So I don't know if that had anything to do with what might have angered a killer or motivated the person who did this to her. But to me, it screams of a secret. Maybe somebody that she knows, maybe they had an affair. And once this person got what he wanted from her, he couldn't risk losing whatever it was that he had. Maybe a recent marriage, possibly a new relationship, maybe even with a friend or family member of Alisha, right? I can't let you tell them what we just did. That would ruin everything, even though I can't control my own impulses. He's basically saying it's not your fault, but because I'm a psychopath, I only care about what I need and what I want, and you're basically garbage. But we have to always look at the crime scene. We're going to take a very close look at that and reverse engineer what that means. We know the killer isn't going to commit a crime like this. She was basically shot, taken down a dirt road, and taken to a little a deserty wood. I wouldn't call it wooded, but there was trees, a lot of vegetation, and he had to have been familiar with this area. He pulled up in his truck in the middle of the day. She walked with him. He didn't force her. They walked into this little secluded area. I believe he shot her, walked back to his vehicle, and nonchalantly drove out of there. This killer knows that location. It's familiar to him. Nobody's going to do something like this and risk getting caught. He knew that he could go back there and shoot a gun. I was even thinking possibly maybe this person has shot their gun back there before, realizing, hey, we're so close to this damn busy freeway, nobody's going to hear it anyway. So I'm thinking he either works there, visits there. It's right next to a driving range. So maybe he goes to that driving range, worked there at one time, but he's familiar with that back road. And we'll get more into that as we go. So if the family says she's normally doesn't wear dresses like that, could she been involved in illegal activity like prostitution or anything? That's what I was wondering. That's your vulnerable victim, right? Most serial killers target prostitutes. Why? Because they don't have to remember, these killers are fantasizing, right, about sexual torture. Well, you can't just walk up to anybody on the street and say, hey, I'm going to sexually torture you now. You ready? No, you have to commit a crime of kidnapping and abduction and all these crazy things. And these killers are not that smart. They think they are. So they're trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B, right? How do I get a real victim so I can turn this fantasy into reality? Well, you can skip right over the kidnapping part if you target a prostitute, because she's going to get into your vehicle willingly. So some killers who are a little bit smarter come up with maybe a ruse, right? Oh, I got something in my eye. It's driving me crazy. Now, remember, they're always going to target a vulnerable victim. So we're talking about somebody who is 5'2" and maybe knew them. And in my opinion, is covering up some kind of a secret. Maybe the dress, they went out on a date. Maybe they were cheating on somebody that is a mutual friend. But yeah, prostitution did come into mind, but I couldn't gather up enough information. Typically, you're going to want to search for drug addiction, right? Drug addiction is something that would force somebody into the position of prostitution, right? And before you get to prostitution, you go through the separation of your family, right? You're addicted to drugs and you can't stop. That's all you care about. You start selling your stuff. You start turning your back, severing ties, or people start severing ties with you because you just don't care. You've turned into a shell of your former self at that point, and you really don't give a damn. You just want to get high. Okay, well, you've sold all your stuff. You've lied and borrowed all the money from anybody that might have lent it to you, and they're on to you, right? You have nowhere else to go. You've been in and out of facilities, maybe in and out of jail a few times, and now you're craving it. So you latch on to certain people. You learn from people who you may have been doing drugs with. They might have told you stories about how they made a quick buck. So I don't see that as being what's going on here, though. It could be. But I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any evidence of drug abuse. I haven't looked up her criminal record or anything like that. But I think what's important here is that I believe it is the consensus that it could have been a date, right? That could include prostitution. That could include online dating. Yeah, any of those things. All right. The ongoing investigation led by Detective Kevin Ham. He's a really nice guy. He seems like his heart is in the right place. I spoke with him this morning. I will not go over the information that I provided to him, even though it's something extremely minute. You never know. It might be something bigger. But he indicates that Alisha may have known her killer, suggesting she had connections within her community. the police have emphasized her humanity and the impact of her loss, with Sergeant Brian Bauer stating, Alisha deserves the justice. And I agree. How many of these cases do we cover where nobody's talking about them, nobody's willing to make them high profile? And we all know what makes a case high profile. You know, and I'm not trying to criticize anybody, but what makes a case high profile is a strong family coming together and putting pressure on law enforcement and doing their own networking when it comes to reporters, local reporters and journalists, getting the word out, working with foundations and coming on YouTube channels, getting out there, and you have to make it high profile. It's not just going to be like, oh, this is a case that stuck. No, if you look at most high profile cases, there's a very boisterous family member stepping up, right? Somebody who's willing to take the accusations and take all that bullshit that comes along with the social media and going public. And it's not for everybody. It can be brutal. We've seen the brutality. Judge Diener called it bloodlust, remember, out of Indiana? The bloodlust. And I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah, there's not much on her background at all, really. Here, let's take a look at the press conference. I'll stop sharing my screen. I think I can load this video because I had to edit it. The audio was like only coming out of the left side. So I took it from left to dual mono. So the audio sounds much better. And then I did a little editing on the video itself just for you guys. All right. So this is breaking news, guys. This came out just the other day. This is a cold case they need help with. And this is the presser that I think was released just 2 days ago.
Lead to our suspect. As I mentioned, Detective Kevin Ham is here. He's the lead investigator. What we'll do is we'll follow up with any questions and answers that you have. I also have videos and pictures that I will make available to all of you after or upon completion of this presser. I want to start with Alisha Hale.
We can actually pull up some of those photos now. Let's see here. Okay, that's the suspect vehicle. That's Alisha. And the dress.
Bellotte, she was 34 years old at the time of her murder. We believe that the suspect knew Alisha. We're hoping that there's some people out there in our community that might have more information about that specific relationship, as well as the time that led to this tragic murder, as well as following it. We have several surveillance cameras of different angles that show the suspect's truck pulling into the area where this murder took place. It's a very...
And guys, we're going to watch that full video. I haven't had a chance to try to enhance it like we've done with other videos, but I plan on doing that today, and I'll have that posted to my channel. So if anybody wants to see the video enhancement, and we've had some success with our enhancements, so we'll give it a try. You know, sometimes you can only work with it's only as good as the source, I guess.
Very tragic situation, but it's also very violent. This happened in the middle of the day with cars passing by the I-10. The specific location of this homicide as you can see on our poster board here, was near Baseline and I-10 freeway where we have the red circle. This is kind of a desert area off the access road to the freeway. The way to get to that location was the suspect had to drive on a dirt road on the south side of the canal.
I'll pull that up.
Again, we have several different angles from surveillance cameras in the area showing the suspect driving down this canal road, parking the vehicle. Our victim, Alisha, as well as our suspect, getting out of the truck. And unfortunately, only one person entered into that truck and left that scene. Her body was found there a day later after a check welfare was called in at that location. Again, this was in daytime hours. You'll see in the video that there's multiple cars passing by, and this individual decided to do this heinous act in the middle of public, not
Okay, so like around 2000, I'm very familiar with this area. In 2004, I lived in Tempe. And I actually lived on Mill in the 60. And I've gone to parties here when I was, in college. We got into this huge brawl one time back, I think it was, I don't know, these are like huge resorts. So somewhere back here, it's changed. I remember we used to call it the Point, but this area over here is still the Point. So I don't know. But it's pretty much smack dab in the Metropolitan Valley, and we refer to all of this as Phoenix. So she lived in Sunny Slope, sorry. That's kind of over here more towards Glendale, between Glendale and Scottsdale. So what is she doing so far from her home? Right smack dab in the suites, and I'm pretty sure this is a high prostitution area. So I don't know. I don't know her history. But I think if there is some drug addiction right before this crime, I think you could speculate, trying to get your head into the mind of who did this. But it's definitely somebody who's familiar. This is the crime scene right here. So the killer took this road right here, traveled along this dirt road. He kind of hesitates, he pulls around, and then backs up. Him and Alisha get out of the vehicle and walk into this area here, where apparently it may have been one gunshot wound. But it wasn't very bloody because they couldn't really tell what happened to her at first. They thought, hey, is this a drug overdose? What's going on here? But after closer examination, they found that she had a gunshot wound. So I don't know if that's an indication that somebody tried to clean her up, maybe. Like she was shot somewhere else, maybe cleaned and dressed and dumped. I don't know. Or for whatever reason, the wound just wasn't that visible, for whatever reason. But we know she wasn't dumped because she walked, right? But we're talking about what the police might have been thinking at the time. But we know because of recent security footage that they both got out of the vehicle, walked together. She was not forced. And then somewhere in here, she was shot. This is the 10 freeway in Baseline. 800 Arizona Grand Parkway. So towards the end of this is what I want to do, guys. I want to reverse engineer this crime scene. And what have we learned by doing these types of practices? Right? And studying all these different cases, we know that this crime scene means something to the killer in some way or the other. The trick is trying to figure out what it is, you know. And for me, what I've learned is these types of people, when they fantasize about these violent crimes, they incorporate things in those fantasies that are familiar to them. Or after they panic and they come up with the plan, they will incorporate things that are familiar to them, right? I don't know if you've ever been, some of the cases that we've covered, witnesses will testify like, these are some of the things that I've heard a lot in different types of cases. Witnesses coming forward and saying, well, I was with the suspect and he would say creepy things all the time, like, oh, that would be a great place to put a dead body, right? We've heard multiple witnesses in different cases testifying to the character of the person of interest, right? Well, one time I was driving with them and they pointed out, said that would be a good place to hide a dead body. Or you could always do this, this, and that, right? Something that's very specific to them, their own personal profile, their own life through their own eyes, right? We got to try to get there. So, what does this crime scene say about our killer? First thing it told me was you had to have been very familiar with this location. Right here, let's go right here onto where he turned on. You're not going to risk pulling into such. Look at this location. I mean, it's booming. Lots of money floating around here. And I guarantee there is lots of prostitution. But also, this would be a great place to take somebody you were trying to impress, right? And what girl doesn't like to be treated? You know, being taken out, shopping, pampered. So he would have turned right here on this road. He would have wrapped around over here near the crime scene and exited right here. So if we're going to reverse engineer this crime scene, he knows this area. He knows that if he goes back here near the highway and he shoots his gun, nobody will hear it. Well, how the hell does he know that? Because he's familiar with the area. Okay, well, what is the area? It's a resort, and it appears to be a driving range. So I don't know. Maybe he works around there somewhere.
Hearing about the cars or the traffic or any other witnesses in the area. The truck that captured on the surveillance camera is described as an early 2000s Dodge Ram with 4 doors. We also have the picture of that truck here. I want to clue everybody into the smaller details of this particular truck. It looks as if it's a stock vehicle. It also has a tow hitch on it. As we understand, his tow hitches can be used for hooking up everything from trailers, RVs. So maybe that might clue some people in that are watching this that might recognize the vehicle and might identify who the driver was because of the tow hitch or even because of the small dent that.
Yeah, maybe they do some kind of landscaping. This area requires a shit ton of landscaping. Maybe they work at the golf course. You know, it looks like whoever knew this place could very easily be people who work right here, right? Who would go back there? Definitely employees, golfers, maybe people that work right here, that work nearby, right? Ryan says it's a canal road, not an actual road. No, it's an actual road. There's no restriction on it. Here, I'll show it to you again. Yeah, it's public. Okay, so here's the crime scene. And here's the road to get there. This is as public as it gets. Is there a canal there? Yes. Is it a canal road? Yes. but it's definitely public. Out of all the places where you could commit a murder, why here? Why right there? You said they walked into the crime scene where there are two sets of footprints. No, we're going to see on video, Don. We're going to watch them walk together. I'm just being extremely long-winded right now, so I apologize.
Yeah, the back of the truck itself. Keep in mind, this is a case from 2021. A lot of details could change from this vehicle. It may not be the same owner as the day of this crime. Again, we're looking for any information that might lead us to who the suspect was. Keeping in mind that ownership may change over time. Similarly, things that
hold on, guys. I'm going to refresh my screen real quick.
lead to
solve these type of crimes, as the prior case agent has.
You can see in the back of the truck itself. Keep in mind, this is a case from 2021. A lot of details could change from this vehicle. It may not be the same owner as the day of this crime. Again, we're looking for any information that might lead us to who the suspect was. Keeping in mind that ownership may change over time. Similarly, things that might be able to stand out with anybody that knew Alisha. She's pictured over here to my right. She was wearing this black and white striped dress at the time of her murder. From what family were able to identify, is this is not her normal dress. This is not her normal clothing that she wears. This may be a good image for folks out there that knows a little bit of information. It might be a reminder of exactly what took place. If it does remind you of any kind of information, the smallest bit of information can help us lead to the solving this case, and we're hoping that you can use silent witness as a means of providing that information. Or you can call into 911 and ask to speak specifically with myself or Detective Ham with any information that you have. With that being said, I'd like to pass it over to Detective Ham, where he'll give you a synopsis of the case itself.
Thanks, Sarge. And thank you for being here today. Again, my name's Detective Kevin Ham. I'm with the Homicide Unit.
He's a nice guy.
I assumed the role of case agent just recently, as the prior case agent has moved on to a different detail. So I'm familiar with the case. I was familiar from the beginning. I did a complete review of the case recently that led us here today. So this happened on June 3rd,
So you guys, this is basically the equivalent of what happened in the Delphi murder case, where they released the video and then more audio. So remember how big that was for that case? That's how big this is. So I'm definitely expecting to hear some updates from this case pretty soon. I mean, this is huge.
2021 at around 9 o'clock in the morning. As Sergeant Bowers indicated, this happened in the area of I-10, the I-10 freeway and Baseline Road. There's a canal that runs through that location. It's kind of a secluded area. To access that area, you have to drive, or you have to access it through one of the paths of the canal. In this particular case, first of all, officers responded to that location as a reported dead body was in that location. When they arrived, they observed a female lying face up in a secluded area just south of the canal. The individual was identified as Alisha Hale. She was wearing the dress as indicated in the photograph here. The dress was neat. It was clean. She was clean. And when the officers got there, they didn't observe any immediate trauma to the body, so they thought maybe it was an overdose or something to that effect. As the investigation continued, they discovered that Alisha had been shot. So that's what led us to this homicide investigation. So as a normal practice, we'll canvass the area to try and locate video surveillance. It's been a good tool of ours to solve these type of crimes. We found some video at some local businesses in the area, and the video was actually the day before. We saw a Dodge Ram pickup truck, as we see in the photograph here. This is the actual photograph, a still photograph from the video, entering the canal path. And this was on the morning before, on June 2nd at around 11 o'clock in the morning. So the vehicle's driving along and then goes to a dead end just prior to where the freeway access is. We see two images get out of the vehicle. One is the driver, who is a male. It's very difficult to see the identification of that male.
And we're going to watch
then we
this
see
video.
our victim, Alisha, getting out of the passenger side. She's dressed in the outfit as we have indicated here. They talk for a while. There's an interaction going on. There's no audio to this video. Then the two go off camera to the secluded area that I indicated earlier. And then precisely 2 minutes later, we...
That's a good question, Don. That I don't know. But that is the first thing that popped into my mind when I was watching this presser. When he said I couldn't find it, I thought, well, it must have been a .22 caliber. Because oftentimes there's no exit wound. It just kind of bounces around, enters in, might break through one bone and then bounce around the rest of them, but not go all the way through. Especially if it's in the skull, at least from what I've heard.
See the male exiting that area, getting back into the pickup truck, and then leaving the area, leaving the same path as he entered, and then out onto Baseline Road, and then got onto the Maricopa Freeway.
This guy's familiar with the area.
So,
guaranteed.
We're seeking the public's help here. This is obviously a 4-year-old case. I recently reviewed it. I see that there's some things that we can do to try and solve this case. We're sending some evidence through our lab again to have reevaluated, and then we're seeking the public's help. Somebody knows this person. Somebody knows this vehicle. This is in daylight. There's a lot of traffic out there. There's this.
Yeah, somebody. So if you guys can share this video, somebody somewhere is going to look at this. They're going to look at the date, and they're going to look at that area, and they're going to be, oh my God, that is such and such, right? Fill in the blank. That is, and then they're going to call it in. And even if they go, well, doesn't such and such drive a truck like that? And he lives in that area? Yeah, but there's hundreds of those trucks. Obviously such and such wouldn't do that. Don't negotiate with yourself. Don't try to explain it away. The smallest bit of information could be helpful. And remember, the manipulation of a psychopath, a lot of people are susceptible to that, And even though we might be learning about the red flags and what that might look like, we're all susceptible on different levels, right? They're very tricky. They know how to appear to be a really nice guy. But the truth is they have this uncontrollable rage in most cases. So even if you think this person is a great guy and he's always been nice, you've never seen him raise a hand to anybody, but they live in that area, they're around 5'9", may have been working in that location, or may even be driving this vehicle and know Alisha Hale, just tip it in. What's the worst case? You have the investigative team go over and visit your friend, and he says, well, I have an alibi. I can give it to you quickly, right? No big deal. But I guarantee whoever did this crime to Alisha, they will do it again. So if you have an idea of who this might be, just remember it will happen again. This person is on their way to prison, has probably always been on their way to prison, and Alisha just happened to win that chance encounter with the cold-blooded killer. But if he's free, that means that he may have killed again since then and plans to do so again even after.
This individual, as Sergeant Bowers indicated, he's comfortable in the area. He probably knows
Red.
the area. Getting into that part of that secluded area, you have to know where you're going, especially when you're driving. It was unusual for Alisha to be in that area. This is South Phoenix. She's not from that area, according to family.
Yeah, this is more of like a South Tempe. It's near kind of like near Arizona Mills Mall, Fry's Electronics, and back. Well, I don't know if 2021, but we used to call it the Point. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been over there.
She doesn't frequent that area at all, so that's unusual. But we're seeking the public.
Okay, so why is she near a resort? There's a lot of money there. People spend a lot of money. Maybe an online date, maybe cheating. So why would this person why would somebody be what appears to be on a date in a location where people like to take dates, whether it's a prostitute, a new friend, their girlfriend, their wife, whatever. This is a great place. If somebody's like, hey, we're going here, you're going to get dressed up. So why is she there? And why is this person feeling the need to take her life? What is he hiding? What does he need to hide by killing Alisha?
Help, and we need somebody to come forward. Sometimes I always use the analogy. People will often ask, why are we coming forward with this now? It's 4 years later, and why now? Well, with the passage of time doesn't always mean that that these type of incidents become more difficult to solve.
Well, the reason he's releasing it now is because they did their best to locate this vehicle. Who has a connection to Alisha and this Dodge Ram 2000 model, right? They just couldn't find that connection. So when you come to a dead end and you have to refer to a case as a cold case, all you can do is show your cards, right? At one point, you go from holding your cards close to your chest because you're hopeful and you anticipate a quick arrest, right? I don't want to alert anybody. I don't want to alert my suspect that we're onto them. Cards are close here, right? But at some point, you got to show your cards like, hey, I was wrong. And that's why he's referring to the passage of time. We don't have anything. They refer to it as a cold case. So this is huge. This is either going to rattle somebody and they're going to hide evidence, but hopefully it's going to spark some good tips quickly.
Sometimes people that didn't want to come forward in the past feel more comfortable coming forward now. So that's why we're coming forward, and we want the public to reach out to us. And you can be anonymous. You don't need to provide us your name or.
Sensei's asking, any fibers from the vehicle on the dress, any DNA? I was a little late coming in. I believe he did mention in the presser that they're doing some things with the DNA. I'm assuming kind of like what they're doing with Evansdale, using new technology. Maybe they don't have the best sample. That happens in other cases, and they got to be patient and wait till the technology kind of catches up to the type of evidence that they're holding on to. Which is great.
Contact information, but if there's any leads that can allow us to identify that individual, we would be very interested.
What's up, Glam?
Thank you.
I'd like to open up for any questions.
All right. We're going to cut this one short. They do ask some good questions, but we're going to get into all the details right now. So maybe it would be best to let's put that map back up there. What do you think? Let me share my screen, and we'll go over some of the facts surrounding the case here. So let's get an idea of what this location is all about. Apparently, it's called the Arizona Grand, right? It's this huge resort. And on this side of the resort, we have something referred to as the Canyon Ballroom. I'm assuming you can rent this facility out, weddings and things like that. And then you have these different like sectors of the same resort. Like this one's the address here is 8000 Arizona Grand Parkway. Now, what I found interesting about this resort area is that it's facing the crime scene. Like if you're an employee here, you might park right here, right? And you're facing this area. So that might be why you decided to incorporate it in your scheming. But I truly believe whoever killed Alisha has been back here. I think maybe even shooting, maybe testing a gun. An employee over here, maybe with the ballroom, somebody that had business back here. I was thinking possibly maybe Aunt Chilada's Tempe restaurant. This place looks incredible, by the way. I've never been to this location. But this is where the camera footage came from. From right here. So what do you guys, tell me what you guys are thinking right now. After seeing the crime scene, learning a little bit about the victimology, the criminology, and the location of where she was killed. So she wasn't killed in a secondary location and then dumped. She was basically killed at the dump site. And whoever did it is familiar with this. He knew that he could shoot that gun and the Maricopa Freeway would be so loud that nobody would even blink. And I don't believe he would have been from this restaurant or he would have thought about the camera. Because he pulls in right here, travels along this road, knows there's no cameras, knows he can fire his weapon without drawing attention right here. And then he knew that he could just wrap right around the canal, go to the other side of the canal, took a right onto Arizona Grand, took a right onto Baseline, and there was another camera right here that captures him driving by. Right there. They got a good view of him. And then apparently they know that he jumped back onto the freeway. So the question is, did he take a right and go south, or did he go back towards Alisha's home? Right? Because this is how you get. And what's crazy is if you're traveling from her home, that's how you get to this location is by driving the 10. You know, so we got to try to get into this guy's mind. Like, why did he need to kill her? What was at stake? What was this killer risking? Remember, we got to work from inward outward. We got to reverse engineer it. Like we're at Area 51, right? We don't know where this came from. It's from another planet. How do we explain how somebody could do something like this? What the hell are they trying to hide? You know, it's probably a psychopath. He could be hiding in plain sight. Could be a friend, family member. My first instinct, my intuition, what my gut told me after viewing everything in its totality was that this was somebody that she knew. And this is total speculation. Don't quote me. She knew this person. They might have had a mutual friend. And for whatever reason, this vibe of possibly cheating, right? This person cheats with Alisha, who apparently seems to be single and maybe estranged from her children, possibly. I don't know why. I could be wrong about that. But that could hint to drugs as well. There being somewhat of a separation. The father of her children didn't really say too much. On her obituary, it was like one sentence, like, "Hey, we created the greatest thing in our lives. Thank you for that." Basically that. So to me, I felt like there was some tension there. So a mutual friend, they start cheating on the side, but the killer doesn't want maybe he has a family, maybe he has a fiance, a wife, a girlfriend, a child, or maybe it's a friend of the family, parents, and this guy's been grooming her or taking advantage of her or something. But whatever it is, he's trying to hide it. He's killing her, in my opinion, to hide something. I can't have you talk, right? So she's all dressed up like she's going out on a date. Maybe that's what she can't talk about. Maybe she can't talk about the date. He can't allow. What's up, Rodolfo? Yep, this was during the day. So maybe we should watch the video and then I'll read some of the case facts. You guys want to do it that way? Or would you rather just watch the video? Would you rather hear the case facts and then not be distracted during the actual CCTV footage that was released recently? That way you can kind of study everything. That's what I want from you guys. I want for you guys at some point to study the video and tell me what you see. So here, let's just go through these case facts real quick, because that's what I was hoping for from you guys. Okay, so let's go through these key facts quickly, and you guys can kind of observe the actual crime scene. Alisha Hale was shot and killed on June 2nd, 2021, though her body was 9 a.m. on June 3rd, 2021. So she was found the next day. Somebody reported her. I wonder who reported her. Who was back there? What was their business back there? Maybe the killer has something in common with the person who found them, because I believe the killer at one point had business back there himself. So who are these people that found Alisha's body? Now, the crime occurred in the desert area near Interstate 10 and Baseline Road in South Phoenix, a relatively secluded spot despite its proximity to a major freeway. All right. Circumstances of the murder. All right, guys. Yeah. And we'll go through them quickly. But I want your undivided attention on that security footage. The killing took place in broad daylight, described as a targeted murder by Phoenix police, with cars passing by on the nearby freeway indicating the suspect's boldness. So maybe he's not so bold, right? He's fully aware of what he's doing. He knows damn well if he goes down here, he can bring women. Maybe he works at the resort and he's used to taking prostitutes back here. I'll take you back here. But this time he takes somebody that he plans to kill. And you don't, unless you're a serial killer, you're not just killing random people. You're motivated, right? And it could be a serial killer who's just passing through, picking up, found a date on Craigslist, or was giving somebody a ride. Who knows? But to me, the profile tells me that they knew each other. All the evidence point, there's a story there. There's a story. It's talking to us if we just listen. Don, I would think family and friends would recognize the truck. I think with the dress in another part of town that this was a new acquaintance, in my opinion. Yeah, maybe even a friend of a friend. Possibly an old high school friend. I remember when I was in my early 20s, and I started dating all my old ex-girlfriends. And one of my ex-girlfriends says, you're going through a phase, right? She's like, we all go through it. And I was like, what are you talking about? said, yeah, if after you're 25 years old, if you're not married, you start reaching out to people that you're comfortable with, right? You don't want to go out dating or something. I can't remember but she was right. I was like, oh wow, I am in a phase, because you're like the third ex-girlfriend that I dated, that I've been reconnecting with from my past. You know, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes you just go out and have a good time, and it's just not the way you remember it, right? It's always better in your mind. But it could be something like that from her past, a reconnection. You know what I mean? That could explain why she was dressed not in her typical attire. You know, I'm going to a fancy place. Dress nice. Hey, we're going out. I'm taking you to a really nice place. Make sure you dress nice. She's like, oh shit, dress nice. I don't know how to do that. So maybe she reached out to somebody, a friend, family member. Hey, do you have a dress? You know, maybe that dress belongs to a friend of hers, and it was loaned to her. Mark, I've been through that phase. Yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing. You know, I guess at some point you get to an age where you're like, I don't want to go out to the bar. I don't want to go out to the nightlife and meet a girl. So I guess the first part of you not wanting to pick up women where you typically have a one night stand, you say, I don't want to do that anymore. You know, so you start reaching out to people who are familiar with you, apparently. And yeah, I went through that phase. It's a thing, I guess. All right, let's get back to this. Okay, Alisha was found with a gunshot wound, though initial police observations did not immediately note the trauma, and it was later confirmed she had been shot. So that tells me a small caliber firearm, or maybe a forensic expert could explain that a little better for us. So if we got some forensic folks in the replay crew, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this case. And what that part might represent, the fact that they didn't observe the trauma, but later determined that it was a gunshot wound. Let's see. Let's go to Adelaida Silva, sorry. What are the chances that he might have committed burglary down the road and she saw it happen real time? He might have killed her, then hit the road to Nebraska and kept a low profile there till 2024. I don't know. That's oddly specific, Silva. If you don't like speaking with law enforcement and you know anything about the case, could just be a strange question. I don't know. It seems very specific, but if you would like to talk privately and you're not a big fan of police, shoot me an email. Maybe I can be like a liaison. But what do you mean by that question? What are the chances? What type of a burglary are you referring to? A burglary where? How does that tie in the dress? How does that tie in the location of where she was killed? How does it tie in the suspect and the Dodge Ram? Are you saying he's could be from Nebraska? Are you just saying Nebraska, using that as an example, like it's just anywhere random? Is that what you meant? You know, just picking out someplace random. Yeah, she definitely knows this person, I think. All right, surveillance video from June 2nd, 2021, and we're going to watch that. Shows Alisha and an unidentified man arriving in a silver truck. It's a Dodge Ram, to be exact. Silver Dodge Ram. I think it's a 4-door. Let me pull it up. There it is. Yep, 4-door. Basically stock other than the tow hitch. So, you know, if he has a tow hitch, that's because he's towing something. Maybe he's a landscaper. Maybe he has a side job, a business. Maybe he goes four-wheeling and he has some bikes. Maybe he goes camping. I don't know. Why does he have a trailer hitch? He's using it. What the hell is he using it for? Somebody out there knows, right? We don't know. We're just trying to figure out. We're trying to reverse engineer this. Somebody doesn't need to reverse engineer shit. They're looking at the screen right now going, I think I know whose truck that is. Say something. All right. Description of the suspect vehicle. The suspect is believed to be a male. The suspect and vehicle, sorry. Suspect is believed to be a male, approximately 5'9". Based on surveillance footage, no clear description of his appearance is available due to the video's quality. The suspect's vehicle is described as an early to mid 2000s silver Dodge Ram pickup truck, likely a 2005 or a 2006 Dodge Ram 1500 or 2500, with 4 doors, possibly tinted windows, and a distinctive tow hitch. The truck was seen speeding along a dirt canal road off of I-10 and Baseline on the morning of June 2nd. Okay, the case is being led by Detective Kevin Ham of the Phoenix Police Department, who recently took over and re-examined the case, sending evidence back to the crime lab for testing. So he's working on the DNA, and he's giving the public something to work with. So that tells me that they're desperate and they need our help. You know, we can give them pieces of information that might break this thing wide open. No tip is too small, I say. No pun intended. Phoenix police held a press conference to release new details. We covered that. The case is considered a cold case as defined by Arizona law since it has remained unsolved for over a year with no viable leads. There's a reward of up to $2,000 is offered for information leading to an arrest. For information, contact Silent Witness at 480-WITNESS. That's 480-948-6377 or 480-Testigo. That's for Spanish speakers. That's 480-837-8446. Okay, let's pull up the video. All right, this video is about 10 minutes long. Okay, I want you guys to pay close attention to this video. Here, let me get this frame off of here. Sorry about that. It's just a bad habit. Okay, I want you guys to tell me what you see. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, Silva. But I was just making sure. Just want people to feel comfortable that they can share information if they need to. Hey, Rain Dancer. Shout out to the replay crew. Looks like alloy rims. Yeah, there you go. Tempe, South Phoenix. It's basically next to West Mesa and South Tempe. It's good to see you, Rain Dancer. I don't know, Rain Dancer. I'm gonna mess with this video a little bit later. You know, we've had some success, so if you want to mess with it, Rain Dancer, by all means. Yep, this is a cold case. So you can kind of see the victim and the killer and the suspect back there, like a dark silhouette. Here, let me pause that right there. So one thing I noticed about this part, and I don't know if what it tells you guys, but he gets out of the truck and he takes a few steps into the trees as if he's kind of looking around. Like, okay, this looks like a good place. Or there's nobody back here. So you're going to watch him he's kind of talking to her on the passenger side of the truck. He walks into the woods or into the trees, turns around and walks back to the truck and was able to convince her to come along with him. So I don't know if they're on a date and he's like, let's just go back here. I don't know if those are dogs. I think it might be birds. No, he's not at an exit point. Here, let's go ahead and take a quick break here. Let me pull up the map. Okay, so this is going to be for some of you who are kind of showing up a little bit late. We'll fill you in here. Okay, this is the location of where her body was found versus where she was living at the time. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Phoenix area. It's one of the largest cities in the world. This place is not safe. From Apache Junction to Litchfield Park, this place is dangerous. There's drugs, there's gangs, there's violence. So for whatever reason, this killer, out of all the places you can dump a body, all the deserts, all you would have to do is drive somewhat out of town. There are bodies being found on the outskirts of this big city every day. Probably right now. But this son of a bitch picked this location because this location is specific to him for whatever reason. Okay. Now here's the crime scene right back here. In the video, you can see the truck is parked right here. It's parked right here. So this is all just like a back road. So Baseline right here is a major street. And most people in Phoenix know where the Fry's Electronics is because it has this weird antenna on the top. See that? I don't even know if this place is still open or not. I love that place. But here on Baseline and Arizona Grand Parkway, for whatever reason, the killer said, we're going here. Now, I don't know if he pulled in right here or if he was already in the resort. He could have just been leaving the resort for all I know. Right? He could have been coming from this direction. So the question is, did he come from the resort and take a right and kill her? Or did he come off of Baseline? This is the way he left. He left in this direction. So maybe he came in that direction. But either way, he knew that this is where he wanted to be. Right here down this road. Okay. Now the camera that captured his location was right here. See? This is the camera angle right here. You can see the truck drive by and park over here. See, look, there's a truck parked there right now. There's a silver truck right here. What the fuck? Oh, no, sorry. I'm starting to hallucinate. Oh, my God. Here it is. Okay. And you can even cut right through here if you wanted to. So I thought maybe the killer was familiar with maybe this restaurant, which looks amazing. But they would have thought about these cameras. So I don't think the killer has any connection to the restaurant. But I think that's the right thought process, right? Who knows this area right here? So if it's not the restaurant, maybe it's the Canyon Ballroom. Maybe it's the landscaping company. Maybe it's somebody that works over here in these facilities, somebody that knows this area right here. And the only people that would be familiar with it are people that are coming and going down Arizona Grand Parkway. They know that there's no cameras. They know that if you park, that there's this little area. I don't know. It looks like, I don't know what this is. It looks like at one point they were mining this area right here. It's like dug out. But either way, you can come back here. There's a dumpster. The killer knew that. The killer knew that you can come right back here. There's no cameras. You could come and go. And he selected this area. Whether he was leaving, you know what it kind of seems like now that we're looking at all the information? As if somebody that knew Alisha brought her here. He's familiar with this area, right? She's not. He tells her, dress nice. Maybe he has access to the Arizona Grand Resort. And then on his way out, he just took a right turn. I wonder what kind of ruse he used. Why would she go willingly with him? Unless he already had the gun out on her. But I don't know if that's visible. But that should give you an idea of what we're looking at on the video. What's up, Dark Side? Caretaker of the ballroom, maybe? That's what I'm thinking. Somebody that works in that general area. They've been back there. They stood right there where that truck is at that very moment and said, damn, you could shoot a gun back here and nobody would even know. I wouldn't even be surprised if he had actually fired his gun back there. That could be the reason he's so comfortable back there. You know, that's his spot. What would make you comfortable with that location? Is having foreknowledge. Being there's a million places to pick that are better than this location. But this also tells me that this bastard likes to hide in plain sight. Right? He's in plain sight right now. Deal says possibly a cop. No, a cop wouldn't do this. A cop would know not to do what this guy's doing. I think if it was a cop, they would have never found Alisha. Unless it was in like a different circumstances, like a crime of passion, where you got to look at the criminology of it. Right? This person's taking her out to a secluded location and just dumping her like trash. For what? This doesn't show me sophistication. This shows me a level of intelligence, yes. But a sophisticated criminal, no. Okay, see, they're getting out of the vehicle. Let's pause it right here. Okay, it's right around this where you're going to see both of them next to each other, and you can kind of get an idea of how tall this suspect is. She's 5'2", very little. Mark says, agree. How would he know he was so, yeah, he was comfortable. Okay, so he's kind of walking back into the trees. He's going to take a quick look. He's trying to convince her, like, hey, come out, come over here. Let's go back here. Like, trust me, I know this area. Well, what if there's somebody back there? Well, I'll go make sure it's clear, right? So he's like making her comfortable or something. Because he leaves the truck, goes back there by himself, and then you're going to see him return. And then they'll go together. Rain Dancer says, who says that's her? Well, the investigation has pretty much proven that's her. Right? The pathologist says, well, she probably died a day ago at such and such time. They go and look for the video at such and such time. And then you have this video of a small petite person and a taller person going right where her body was found. I mean, it's just common sense. It's not 100% fact, right? But I mean, it's common sense that's her killer and that's her. Cause of death is gunshot wound. Don't know where she was shot. Don't know the caliber. So now he's coming back without her. So he's already killed her. Yeah, two people, Rain Dancer, the killer and Alisha. Two people get out of the vehicle, two people walk into the trees, one person walks back out. The next day, they find her dead. They're not confused on this part. They're just confused on who's in the driver's seat. Okay, so this is how they know he got on the freeway. You can basically watch him. Okay, so let's go back to this part here. And he's doing something in the back. I'm assuming he's getting his gun. You know, he might be pulling it out of a bag. Shit, might be a serial killer. Okay, so there he is, kind of standing. That's the suspect. He looks like he could be a larger man, like fat. He looks like he could be fat. Here, let's take a little snippet of that. So it almost appears as if they're wearing a hoodie, huh? And what is this, a bag? Oop. So that was already out there, whatever that was. Okay, so you're going to kind of walk, you're going to see him kind of walking into the trees alone as if he's trying to make her feel comfortable. Remember, guys, these psychotic killers, these sadistic killers, they always seem so nice, right? Oh, you're acting silly. Like you're getting bad vibes from me? Like, do you want to hang out or not? Like, I'm a nice guy. You know, they use like reverse psychology, gaslighting. They make you feel comfortable. They promise you a million times they're not going to kill you, even though they have every intention of taking your life. So if you have a bad feeling in your stomach, just trust it, guys. So she's probably thinking at this point, like, yes, I have a bad feeling in my stomach. Something bad's going to happen. And then you start dealing with the other side of your brain that's like, come on now. What do you think, this guy's going to kill you? Like, come on, that's not realistic. So you start negotiating with yourself and you allow the psycho killer to convince you to go against your gut instinct. Don't do that. Always trust your gut. Always trust your intuition. Yeah, this kind of looks like a large hoodie. You know, shorter guy, 5'9". He might not even be 5'9". I think he could be anywhere between maybe 5'6" and 5'9". This looks like he might be wearing a hoodie. He appears to have larger shoulders. So we might be dealing with a husky individual. He does it right beside the street. Yep. You know why I think he did that, Rain Down? Because he's been in that exact location before. He stood there and he said, man, you could shoot a gun right here and nobody would even know. That could be the reason he came back to use the gun in that location. Gives me the sense of somebody trying to hide in plain sight. Or somebody who's fantasized about that very location being good to dump a body. Right? The number one suspect in the Jordan Sofer case out of Wabash, Indiana, is quoted by a witness saying on multiple occasions that certain areas would be a good place to dump a body. So this killer might have said the same thing similar about this area. Well, nobody can see back there, Rain Dancer. It's completely secluded. Nobody can see, nobody can hear. And obviously he got away. So, I mean, he picked a good place. He picked a good place. And you don't do that, in my opinion, by random. You definitely don't pick a perfect place to kill somebody smack dab in the middle of a busy city next to a freeway, right? No, you don't pick that location. You have foreknowledge of it. That's why you're there. Where does the lower road go? There was a lot of cars going. Well, that's a highway. So here, let's pull up the map again, maybe. Maybe Street View will help. Here, let's go right here to Baseline near the highway. So here's the highway right here. You can take Baseline and head east under the highway. They believe the killer jumped on this road right here, the on-ramp to the highway, or jumped on the on-ramp right here in this turning lane, going in that direction. Now, this on-ramp right here, these are the cars that are being seen in the video right here going by. So the cars that you see driving by are right there on the on-ramp. Going up this road here. And the crime scene is right back here. Or no, actually it's right back here. That is the crime scene right there. So the killer knows that if he parks right here, nobody's going to pay attention to him. They're too busy getting on the freeway. They're definitely not going to hear a gunshot. And they're not going to see anything either because this is like a dugout area. It's like deep right here and it's surrounded by trees. Okay. And the camera angle that you're seeing is coming from a restaurant that's like right here. Enchiladas. So the on-ramp that I just showed you is right here. The crime scene is right there. And the location that the cameras are, where the cameras were located, is right here. See? It's a crime scene right there. See all these trees? Nobody's going to hear anything out there. And do you see how it's like dug out right here? This is deep right here. For whatever reason, they probably were digging for the construction of this facility, perhaps. I don't know. Or maybe even before the facility was built, maybe for the highway. But either way, this is dug out, and I think this is most likely where he did it. Right? That would also help with the sound traveling from the gunshot. So something in me, my intuition tells me that this person may have taken a friend back here. Maybe shot off a few rounds. Like, dang, you can just shoot your gun back here? Yeah, dude, you can't even hear it. You can't hear it? Nope, the freeway's too loud. This is one of the busiest freeways. Yeah, it's public for sure. Yep. So this is an on-ramp. Yep, on-ramp. There you go. Yes, Rain Dancer. So the truck parked right here. Hopefully you can see my cursor. Now the suspect and Alisha walked down this path right here into this prime area. This is very secluded right here. Nobody would be able to see you. So her body was found back here in this area. I'm going to assume probably down in here. This seems even more secluded. There's like down, you can go down a hill right here. I don't know if you can see it from the on-ramp. Oh, here's a pretty decent view. Okay, there's the crime scene. See these hills right here? She would have been on the opposite side of this hill, down in like a gorge. In a gorge. I don't know why it's doing that. It's like freaking out. There we go. Yeah, nobody's seeing anything happening back there. So the truck would have parked right here by this tree and this pole, and then walked back behind these trees here and down into a gorge. Like this is all dug out down here. Nobody would have seen a damn thing. See, there's the canal right there. So the vehicle parked right here in this like shady area, and they walked right down this path. And then the killer left down the canal right here. Oh yeah, it's definitely secluded. And what's scary about Arizona is that a lot of the crime that happens in locations like this. Like near a freeway, near an on-ramp, like maybe like near a retention ditch, under an overpass, places just like this, you know. Um, that's why you really shouldn't be back there if you're a vulnerable type person, I think. Not that it was her choice, but I'm just saying don't be walking back there. There's a reason this creep is back there. Because it's creepy. See, he walks out there. She's standing right there. He's kind of checking it out, making sure everything's okay. And then he walks back out of the woods and kind of grabs her. Yeah, I'm just getting a close up real quick on this. So you guys can kind of get an idea of how tall the killer is. Okay, so she's 5'2". He's not that tall. You know, I don't know. Does she have high heels on? Did she take her shoes off? But he looks like he's wearing a hoodie. Right? Doesn't that look like a hoodie? Sensei says, did she have a phone with her or was it missing? That's a good question. They didn't really talk about a phone during the presser. The phone. What's going on with the phone? She is following him to the tree. Yeah, it's like he got out. He did something over here in the back of his truck, like he was going through luggage or through a bag, or like maybe he just had a gun under his chair. I don't know what he was doing, but he was messing around in his back seat. He walked all the way out here into the secluded area, comes back, opens her door, talks to her for a little while. They both get out of the car. And they kind of stand here, have a few words. He goes into the woods, and then she follows him. So he must have manipulated her somehow. So I don't know, guys. I don't know if this is drug related. I don't know what the hell is going on. Why would she go willingly into this area? Makes sense now why he chose that spot. Almost like pre-planned to me, not spur of the moment impulse. Yeah, maybe the date, maybe everything, right? That's why it feels like he's trying to, like, why is he killing her? He's killing her for a reason. And if he's a psychopath, he's motivated like a psychopath. He does not care about her. But she's potentially could cause a problem for him. What's that problem? What's he afraid of? So this must be an inappropriate relationship. Took her on a date, planned to kill her. He was familiar with where he took her and where he was going to leave her. Or there was no date, lied about a date, acted like he was going to take her to this resort, right? Like, get dressed, I'm taking you here to this resort. But instead of taking her to a resort, he takes her here. Right? She thinks she's going on a date, all excited. Hey, we're going to the Arizona Grand Resort. But instead, he takes a quick left and maybe told her, hey, this is, we're going to go through the back. So if he's telling her that he's going through the back, maybe he's an employee of this area. Maybe it made sense to her. Like, okay, he's telling me this is the back way. Well, he's familiar with the area, so he would know. What do I know? Like, I'll have to trust him. But instead, he had no intention of taking her to the hotel. Maybe he's an ex-employee and just had a plan to kill her all along. Right? Dress nice. We're going to a nice place. Hey, Jari. Or she's his stalker. He took her back there to see some baby birds. Say what? How much about her, which is vital to me? Yeah, we don't know a whole lot. And the thing is you have to be careful when you're presenting information to the public. Now, there's a reason that we cover these types of crimes. We cover these types of crimes because they're swept under the rug. Well, why are they swept under the rug? Because usually the victim is suffering from drug abuse, mental health issues, maybe has a criminal past. So nobody really cares about them. Like, oh, they had it coming. So when you have a presser like this about a cold case, law enforcement and the family, they don't want to focus on those negative things because they know that once the public hears it, they just dismiss it. They don't care anymore. It's kind of sad. And that's why we focus on these types of cases. Go watch our series called True Crime in the Morning. Every case that we covered for True Crime in the Morning is very similar to this case. Somebody with a real, I guess, with a dark past. Everybody's judging them. Everybody's nobody's proud of them. There's nothing for me to be proud of. I'm addicted to drugs. I don't have custody of my kids. I don't have this, and that. It's a vicious cycle. And it puts you in a very desperate position where people look at you kind of like predators look at children who are part of the, foster care system, I guess is the way to put it. Those people are going to be targeted more by child predators because they're more vulnerable and they don't have a family that's going to retaliate, right? There's no big bad father there who's going to beat the shit out of this guy for what he's about to do. They're part of the foster care system. Nobody cares. They'll label it a runaway. Same with the prostitute. Serial killers target prostitutes. One, because they get into their vehicle willingly, but also because nobody really reports them missing. All of their friends who are also prostitutes at the time think, well, maybe she got clean. She went back with her family. And the family's not reporting her because they know that she's addicted to drugs and living that street lifestyle. Nobody's calling law enforcement. Nobody's reporting her missing. And the serial killer, it was all part of his plan. So this looks like whatever's going on here in this video was part of this person's plan. The only question is what's motivating him. To me, I believe in my gut, he's trying to keep her from telling a secret. And that secret has to do with why she's wearing that dress. But that's just my opinion. Okay, guys, I think we're going to spend the next 15 minutes trying to profile this guy. I don't know if you guys want me to play the CCTV footage, if you want me to pull up the street view so you guys have a better idea of the crime scene, or just kind of leave this flyer up. Actually, I think we'll do this. Don said that's a good angle. So this is where the vehicle parked right here to kind of give you an idea of how secluded this area is. No pedestrians, right? No foot traffic. Tons of noise. Very loud. And no real reason for anybody to be right here. The killer knew that, and he parked right here. Alrighty. So let's go to the notes here. You guys let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me. What's up, Ziggy? Shout out to the replay crew. If you guys are on the replay crew and you were unable to catch the live stream, please leave a comment. Tell us your thoughts. Share the video. Okay, let's start with the demographic and physical characteristics. Okay, the suspect is believed to be a male based on surveillance footage showing a man accompanying Alisha Hale. Yeah, this person did seem like a man. Don Spain says he is blue collar, big truck, not newer, but pride in it. Yes, that's like me. Like I'm a Chevy guy. And Chevy, when I get a truck, I have it forever. I haven't had any issues with my 2013 truck. Before that, I had a 92. Rebuilt it one time and had it forever. Chevy truck. And I think that Ram trucks are similar to. So yeah, this person has pride in his vehicle. Or Don, what if the vehicle doesn't belong to him? What if this is a younger person and that's his father's truck or something? It's most likely his truck. So what you're saying, I think, has very a lot of sense. Thank you, Sensei. I have that obituary. We were going to look at it right at the end. Thank you for that email. Maybe she worked as a prostitute, had to redress after rape, and he shot her. I don't think she's going to walk with him willingly. But I don't know. Maybe he had the gun out the entire time. Yeah, we don't know if there's drug addiction, though, Rain Dancer. But I sense it. I don't think I've ever covered a case like this that didn't involve it. Kind of a lot of times it's the driving factor. Not only with trusting a bad man, but putting yourself in vulnerable situations, unfortunately. Yeah, I have it up, Sensei. I already have it. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much. We're going to finish with that. Yeah, if you guys want to send me emails, anything that you think is helpful, I might have it. I might not. But if I do have it, I'll let you know. And if I don't, and I think it's going to be helpful, we'll put it up on the screen. This is the Sleuth Crew. I'm just the MC here. I'm just the guy holding the microphone. But we're all in this. Okay, so it's believed to be a male based on the surveillance, estimated to be approximately 5'9". That's because we know the height of the victim, Alisha. She's 5'2", and we're looking at a comparison. Could be off by a few inches, right? Never know. It's not that clear. Could be a hoodie. Could have a hat under the hoodie. Not sure. Could even be a female suspect for all we know. So hopefully they have some DNA that'll at least tell them that, right? Our suspect is not female. Okay, no specific age range has been provided, but the suspect's ability to drive and the nature of the crime suggest an adult, likely between the ages of 20 and 50 years old, though this is a broad inference based on typical homicide suspect demographics in similar cases. So what we're doing is we're trying to create a profile on statistics. What are we statistically looking for? Now remember, there's always one-offs and outliers. So the thing that bothers us about law enforcement is typically they're known for getting tunnel vision. So we don't want to put ourselves in a box and confined by statistics because there's always one-offs and outliers. We're going to take the information for what it is. But right now we're creating a profile off of, we're creating a statistical profile. Okay, physical description. The surveillance video does not provide a clear image of the suspect's face or detailed physical features due to its quality, limiting further description. Let me see if I can pull up some of those photos. So you can see she's really tiny. She's about as tall as the back of his truck. And his head just sticks, his shoulders are to about the height of the back of his truck. This almost looks like a side view, and we have a guy with kind of a long neck. Right? You gotta be careful with that pareidolia too. Okay, what about a relationship to the victim? Phoenix police believe the suspect likely knew Alisha Hale, suggesting a personal connection. This could indicate the suspect was a friend, acquaintance, romantic partner, or someone within her social or familial circle. The nature of their interaction in the surveillance video, where they were seen talking for a while before moving to a secluded area, supports the idea of familiarity rather than a random encounter. The motive remains unclear, but the personal connection suggests possibilities as a domestic dispute, betrayal, or personal grievance, though no specific motive has been confirmed. Dawn's high octane speculation, maybe a construction worker who told her, check out what I found and hid back here when I worked here. Or look what I built, like I helped build this. Yeah, I could see that with that type of truck, you know. But what kind of, I don't know a whole lot of construction workers with a hitch on the back. To me, that says like landscaping maybe, or personal recreational use. It had to be compelling to get her to walk back there willingly in a dress. Yeah, it's definitely a ruse, guys. And if this guy can perpetrate a ruse against her, that tells me that he's extremely charming. And when you have a charming psychopath, they can easily hide in plain sight. Could be a friend. Could be an ex-husband, ex-boyfriend. Could be a husband, fiance, boyfriend of a friend of hers. I feel like he tried to silence her for, but we could be wrong. We could be wrong. Okay, the police described the killing as a targeted murder, implying premeditation or intent specific to Alisha. The suspect drove her to a secluded desert area, which suggests some level of planning to isolate her. And not only that, right, guys? We have to reverse engineer the crime scene. This motherfucker knew this area. He's parked his truck right here. He's walked down this path. And for whatever reason, he knows exactly what's going on back here. Yeah, it could be a stolen truck for sure. That's usually the first step of a major crime for a sophisticated criminal. But I don't think we're dealing with anybody sophisticated. I think we're dealing with somebody with a personal grievance. He had to silence her, and he's familiar with this area. I think he worked here before. He worked right here in this area. He's been down this dirt road, this canal road, and he's been down in this gorge. Is it a gorge? Gorge? Yeah, gorge. So yeah, we'll probably take a trip to this crime scene. I don't know if I have time. I'll go out there tomorrow, and then I'll give you guys a better idea. I don't know if there's an easement right here or what, but I don't know if this is private property. There is some signs posted here, so we'll see what we can do. If anything, legally, we can stand on this corner right here. And we can film. Maybe we can even sneak back here into this little dirt area before we get kicked out. What's up, Darkside? Darkside says, I'm not sure I totally agree with that. He killed quick and dumped her like trash. Don't seem like he had feeling for her, in my opinion. Well, the thing is, somebody that can kill anybody is probably a psychopath, and they're only going to have feelings for themselves and what they got going on. So if she presented any type of a threat to his normalcy, right? Typically, psychopaths are parasitic. They're depending on a certain person and living a certain lifestyle. Not all serial type killers or violent, sadistic killers can maintain a job like Scott Peterson, you know? Most of them are low IQ, low to average IQ, living a very parasitic lifestyle with their parents, grandparents, um, a girlfriend, you know, but most likely unemployed or something along those lines. Excuse me. Okay, familiarity with the area. The choice of a secluded desert area near a major freeway suggests the suspect may have been familiar with the location, knowing it was isolated enough to avoid immediate detection yet accessible for a quicker escape. And really, that's all he needed to do was get out of there, right? I just need to not be anywhere near her when they find her. That was his goal. Okay, vehicle and associated details. The suspect drove an early to mid 2000 silver Dodge Ram pickup truck, likely a 2005 or 2006 Dodge Ram 1500 or 2500. And this is the vehicle here. Notice the tow hitch on the back. And the thing is, all my trucks have tow hitches, and I don't remember the last time I towed anything. So I guess necessarily doesn't mean that he's towing something. But the fact that he has, it looks like a weird dent. You see the dent in the back of the truck, and that was also mentioned during the presser. That tells me that he does tow things. He is towing something. Maybe a boat, maybe a trailer. You know, maybe he has a trailer somewhere. Some kind of drifter. Okay. Driving behavior. The suspect's initial high-speed driving on the canal road suggests urgency or recklessness, while the slower departure after the murder indicates an attempt to avoid attention. The distinctive tow hitch and specific truck model are key identifiers that police hope will jog someone's memory, suggesting the suspect may regularly use or be associated with this vehicle. All right, this is the part I want to talk about with you guys. Criminal sophistication. I'm not seeing a whole lot of sophistication. I'm seeing more somewhat of some intelligence, but I don't think real knowledge of police procedure and the way that his actions might tell a story. I don't think this person's aware of that. Therefore, the level of sophistication, in my opinion, is a little bit low. But the location, the cleanliness of the crime, being able to hide in plain sight, there is some sophistication there. That may not come with experience. It may tell us a little bit about the person's age. Sleuth, is it normal there for hoodies in June? No. Did he know the camera was there? See, that was my first thought. You know, somebody knowledgeable about this area. So I thought, who would have access to this road prior to the crime? And I thought, well, people that might frequent this restaurant right here. But then again, that's where the CCTV footage was provided from this restaurant. So I think the killer would have known that there was footage pointing right over here. So that left me one other thought. You know, what do we covet? We covet what we see every day. If we're fantasizing, what are we fantasizing about? Things that we see every day, right? We incorporate that in our fantasy. even if it's just hitting bonus at your job. What are you going to do with the money? What are you going to do about this? You're going to incorporate things that are interesting to you and that you see on a daily basis. So I was looking at the crime scene, and this parking lot right here faces the crime scene. The driving range faces the crime scene. Who would have access to the crime scene? Somebody that worked at the driving range or here near the Canyon Ballroom, or who did maybe landscaping and they just happen to park in this area. Right? This place needs a shit ton of landscaping. Look at all this. Maybe a groundskeeper. I don't know. This needs a whole lot of attention here. But somebody here that's, that might park here on a daily basis who faces this crime scene and maybe even comes in contact with prostitution often, may even have free access or access to some of these rooms. Right? Maybe you get comped as an employee here. Like maybe every once in a while you can stay here at, stay at the resort. So somebody that might have access to the resort or to the crime scene, if they're fantasizing about committing a murder or planning a murder, might incorporate the things that are familiar to them, right? Remember, most suspects who testify about their friend being a killer always mention that they said something about specific locations being a good location to dump a body, right? In Jordan Sofer's case, the main suspect was Corey Breidenthal. He has since passed away, but his friend said in a police interview that they would drive by certain locations and Corey would say, well, that's a good place to dump a body right there. I feel like this killer may have said the very same thing about this area and then actually followed through with it. But how does he know about this area? Because he works on it. This grass isn't cutting itself, isn't keeping itself in pristine shape. These trees aren't trimming themselves. So, I don't know. Is this where the groundskeepers stay? I mean, what? I just don't know what kind of business is being operated back here. But the killer is likely somebody that used to work here or currently does work here. Don is asking, can't they check DMV records in that county for those types of trucks? Well, this city is just, remember, Don, this is, I think, the third or fourth largest city in the world. I mean, there's got to be a couple thousand. Are they covers or alloy? They look like alloy to me. Yeah, these are alloy rims. Okay, what about the awareness of surveillance? Oh, wait, hold on. Criminal sophistication, limited forensic evidence. The fact that the case remains unsolved after 4 years and is classified as a cold case suggests the suspect left minimal actionable evidence at the scene. Detective Kevin Ham noted that certain pieces of evidence are being retested in the crime lab. So that tells me that they have DNA and that they're working with it. But these alone are insufficient to solve the case, indicating the suspect may have taken steps to avoid leaving traceable evidence. Awareness of surveillance. The suspect's ability to avoid clear capture on surveillance footage suggests either luck or awareness of camera placement, though the video quality itself was a limiting factor, right? No license plate number, no distinct description of the killer. All right, now this is speculative, but let's look at a potential psychological profile. Rain Dancer shot her, and then sometime later he took her and put her just a little bit more far. No, Rain Dancer. They got out of the vehicle together, walked into the secluded area. The killer shot her. She fell. He left her right where she laid, and then he left the scene nonchalantly and calmly. Okay, psychological profile. The motive. While the motive is uncertain, the targeted nature of the killing and the suspected personal connection to Alisha suggest a motive rooted in personal conflict, such as jealousy, revenge, relational dispute. The use of a firearm indicates a direct, decisive intent to kill rather than an impulsive act. Right? Crime of passion. Typically that's going to be extremely violent. Somebody's in a rage, stabbing over and over and over again. Victim stabbed 30 something times is what you typically see in a crime of passion. This seems more like a decision, a calculated decision. This was planned out, and you got to ask yourself why. Why would this person do this to her? I think it's to hide a secret. Doesn't care if he takes a life. Murder is, if you're a violent, sadistic psychopath, because not all psychopaths are killers or even dangerous, but the ones who are sadistic and violent and can't stop fantasizing about murder and torture, and they have an impulse to kill, those are the ones that I'm referring to. Okay, the suspect's ability to return to the truck and drive away calmly after the murder suggests a degree of emotional detachment, right? Brian Koberger sitting in the court while people are reading their victim statements, and no emotion, stone cold killer. A degree of emotional detachment or experience with high stress situations, though this could also reflect shock or adrenaline management. Yeah, I mean, we don't know. I don't know if it's local. Shit, we could be dealing with a serial killer, Don. But the profile and all the evidence suggests that they know the killer knows her in some degree, right? The criminology and the typology, it's the victimology that we're struggling with right now. Hey, what's up, Peggy? Is anybody else stuck on an ad? I can't skip ad and have excited and reconnected. I don't know. Can take that up with YouTube. Let's see. Community presence. Detective Ham's emphasis on public assistance, and this is quote, somebody knows this person, somebody knows this vehicle, implies the suspect likely still in or was part of the Phoenix community, possibly with ties to Alisha's social circle. So they avoided questions about drug abuse. They touched a little bit on mental health. And the reason you want to stay away from those items during a presser, it just turns the people off. It's probably what turned them off in the beginning and what made this a cold case. But we know that loyalties change over time. And maybe somebody was afraid of the offender, and maybe the offender's in jail or has passed away or moved away, no longer a threat, and they might be willing to speak. Okay. As the suspect is likely still in or was part of the Phoenix community. Okay, let's talk about the crime scene. The location. The murder took place in a desert area near I-10 and Baseline, but really it's not a desert area. It is, but it isn't. Close to the Arizona Grand Resort and Spa, a secluded spot despite its proximity to a busy freeway. This choice of location suggests the suspect sought privacy for the act, but was comfortable operating near a public area. So he knew that it was extremely public, but also extremely private. That tells me this killer is hiding in plain sight. He uses his very own environment to hide behind. At least I would say he knows the area. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. There you go. Maybe we should compare with other trucks, so this type, and check if the tires look the same. Everything looks stock to me. The only thing that I don't know is stock is maybe this I don't know what you call that. A step? Like a step bar? Do we know if Alisha drove, had a vehicle? Did he pick her up from home? It's a good question. So we have questions about the phone and her vehicle. Okay, these are the two things that I'll be following up with you guys about. Phone and her vehicle. It's a good question. I couldn't find any social media for Alisha. Okay, crime scene location. The timing. The murder occurred June 2nd, 2021 in broad daylight, with Alisha's body discovered the next day around 9 a.m. So who discovered the body? You know, who was back there? Who has business back there? Doesn't mean it was the killer who called it in, but sometimes it is the killer who calls it in. But the killer could be, may have something in common with these people. The reason the killer is familiar with that area is the same reason that whoever discovered her body had business there. Maybe the killer has that in common with them. The daytime execution of the crime further underscores the suspect's boldness or lack of concern for immediate detection. So I'm thinking maybe a former employee. Like, haven't been around here. If somebody sees my truck, they won't, it's been a while since I've worked here. But still very familiar with the area, right? Okay, victim's attire. Alisha was wearing a black and white striped dress, which her family noted was not her typical clothing. This could suggest the suspect influenced her attire, or that she was in an unusual situation prior to the murder, though no further details clarify this point. All right, guys. That's all I had for you. So we'll spend the next 5 minutes in the chat. Let me pull the video up that I had from her obituary. Actually, if you guys want, we can visit that as well. Here, let me pull that up real quick. I can read some of these comments here. I have it bookmarked. Thanks for the email too, by the way. Okay, so Alisha Marie Hale, February 15th to June 3rd. But really, it was June 2nd. Alisha loved her family, music, and dancing. She was a licensed phlebotomist. She loved with all her heart. Alisha will always be loved and remembered for her passion for life and unconditional love she had for family. She is survived by her mom, Missy, dad, Dale. She has 5 children. She has 3 sisters: Jamie, Becca, Jessica, and brother Curtis. Alisha is also survived by loving nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Here's some of her photos. Little baby. When she was a kid. It's cute. Those must be her girls. Let's read some of these comments here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Can you guys even read that? These are all pretty recent. A lot of these are in 2024, 2025. What the hell? All right, this is Natalie Fitzgerald. June 3rd of this year. Hey, what's up, Tech Death? Sleuth, you help a local cold killer comes after you for helping? I mean, that's not what I'm hoping for, but truth is, the majority of these guys are cowards. And they're not looking for a fight. They're looking for an easy target. But yeah, my goal is not to entice conflict. I'm not trying to challenge the Dexters of the world. I'm just trying to find answers. Okay, Natalie says, today marks her 4th year without justice. Nobody will ever understand the pain I feel inside. Every day wishing my mother was here. Also, Natalie is her daughter. My mother was here. I'll never understand why God decided to take her away from me, but I know there was a reasoning behind it. My favorite compliment is being told I look like my mom because she's beautiful. I miss you a lot. Whew. And that one almost hit me. Give me a second. I don't know if I can pronounce that. Amika? Amachai? Yeah, I appreciate that, Sensei. Yeah, licensed lobotomist. Phlebotomist. Not lobotomist. With a PH at the front. Yeah, this is extremely sad. This is breaking news. They just released the CCTV footage and are putting out the image of the vehicle. And somewhat of a suspect description, 5'9", most likely a male. Average build, from what I can see, maybe a little bit husky, but it's hard to tell from what we see. I don't know if what is that? Amika Schneller? I'm sure I'm butchering that name. I met your daughter today. I think you would be proud of how strong she is. My heart is heavy with the thought of this. We live close by and never knew or learned anything about what happened. My wife and I have vowed to be caretakers of her memorial. We will not forget. I'll read a couple more. A lot of these from her daughters, it looks like. Let's see. Here's a strange name. Remington Coyle. I remember when I met you. I went out with your best friend at the time, Alisha Smith. So Alisha had a friend named Alisha Smith with her name spelled the same? Seems a little weird. And you were going out with my friend Cameron Brazil. I knew the day that I met you that we would always be friends no matter what. You were loud, funny, and smart, all rolled into a little Tasmanian devil. You showed me what conditional love was truly like. You let me be part of your life, and that means the world to me. You may be gone, but you will never be forgotten. I miss you, Alisha Marie, and I will always think about you. I can't wait to see you again in the afterlife. Thank you for being a special part of my life. All of us that remember you, from Mary Bell, love you. Sounds like a high school pal. Here, we'll read two more. This one is from David Gilmer, posted June 14th of 2021. So this is shortly after the murders, actually. All right, about a week. A week after the murders, we have a post by David. And looks like his wife, Christina. We'll see what David had to say. About 12 years ago, I met my beautiful wife, Chrissy Gilmer. One of our first dates was actually an interview. Alisha was with Chrissy, and if you didn't know her, you would think Chrissy hired a private security guard. Alisha was sweet and friendly while Chrissy was present. When Chrissy would leave to go to the bathroom, that's when the interview started. Alisha made it well known if I treated Chrissy wrong, she would cut me. Alisha laughed, I laughed, but inside, I was a little scared. Truth is, if Alisha didn't like me, Chrissy wouldn't date me. Luckily, after a few dates, Alisha gave me her blessing to date her cousin. The first 6 to 9 months of our relationship, Alisha was always around. It went from me fearing for my life to the beginning of an introduction to a wonderful family. My time with Alisha can be summed up in one word: fun. Alisha was fun. You could make a joke about her and she would make one back at you even quicker. If the mood in the room was quiet, she would make sure it wasn't. Although I haven't been able to spend time with Alisha in years, her memory would always live on with me. She is literally part of the foundation of my marriage. Missy and Dale, you both are the epitome of selflessness. So Missy and Dale, I think, are her parents. Your hearts are big, your love is strong, and your family is amazing. There are no words that can take this pain away. Just know, if Alisha didn't give me the seal of approval, I wouldn't have my family. I wouldn't be able to ask Dale, where are the stuffed mushrooms? Every time I see him, I wouldn't have been able to teach Nick how to drive. I wouldn't be able to pick on Jenny's kids. There's a lot of I wouldn't have situations. In this time of grief, anger, and confusion, I hope we can all focus on the contributions Alisha made to the world. With love, David. Okay, one more. I think this is the father of her children right here. Roy Bellotte. And I think they may have been married because sometimes her last name appears as that. Bellotte. I'm sure I'm horrible, guys. I have an 8th grade reading level. Okay, our time together wasn't the longest. We did create one of the best things. So this must be one of the fathers to her children. We did create one of the best things ever in our lives. We will miss you and always love you. So it must be a father of one of her children. All right, guys, that is going to do it for today's live stream. Big thank you to everybody who participated in the chat. If you're part of the replay crew, you know exactly what to do. Drop a comment, we'll get back to you. If you have any information on this case, the tip line is in the description. Do not hesitate. Yeah, make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And I'll catch you on the next one. Just remember, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.